What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Now in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is taking you guys through all the most useful flicks which I do use in my lobbies. So these are GC1 lobbies to help obviously rank up and score as many opportunities as we can from dribbles such as this one. Which flicks I use are the most viable to get these goals, and I'll be showing you guys a quick tutorial on how to do each flick and how to do them as effectively as possible. As you guys can see, I'm a GC1 ranked player, so let's go ahead and get straight into all these flicks. If you haven't already, feel free to join the Manchester Gnosis RL Discord server, link in description, and subscribe for more. Now let's get into the first flick. If you're looking to buy any Rocket League items or credits, then head over to the best place, which is going to be aoa.com. Here you'll find the best prices with fast delivery and security guarantee. You can also use code MANSNOSIS at checkout for 6% off when paying with your chosen paying method. Okay guys, so the first flick which I'm going to show you, which I do use in my GC1 ranked lobbies, is going to be a very simple flick, and that's just going to be the frontwards flick. Now to show you guys all of these different flicks, we are going to be using a training pack. The training pack I'm going to use is Jake, RL, Air, Wall, and Dribbles, and the code is going to be there on screen if you guys would like to use this training pack too. Personally, I find it really good and helpful for dribbles. But what you want to do is just practice getting a ball on your car and then doing the frontwards flip. Now, as you guys can see here, if we do the frontwards flip with our car too far, with the ball too far on the front of our car, we won't get the best flick. So you want to wait, get a ball on somewhat of the back of your car, and then try and just get the perfect time for the flick. And again, once you get this down, you guys can start to see you get a lot more power on your flicks. And this is just a good flick which I use in my lobbies to help just flick over the opponents. Again, if an opponent does rush, you can just flick this straight away. It's very simple like that. That's the sort of perfect flicks you can get. An example of how much height and power you can get on these flicks. Again, very basic. Most players in the game can do this, but it's just a nice, very simple flick to help outplay the opponents. And you just want to make sure you get as consistent with it as possible. Again, all you need to do for this mechanic is point your joystick up and double click the jump button. So that's going to be it for the forwards flick. Okay, so now the next flick I'm going to be showing you guys is going to be the diagonal flick. And this one is one of the most viable ones that I use probably the most often in my GC lobbies. As you guys can see, a perfect example of how to do it there. This flick is probably one of the most effective ones that I use because it's very easy and you can aim it in the corner perfectly. It depends all on sort of what type of air roll player you are. So for this flick, you want to make sure you have air roll left and air roll bind. Air roll right bind. So in your settings, I personally have air roll left bind to L1, air roll right bind to R1, but that's just going to make this flick possible. Then what you want to do is get the ball on your car, obviously to the sweet spot, which is going to be about just over the front part of your car. So when you jump, you can flick into it, and then you want to jump, tap air roll left like that to get your car sort of like a diagonal position like this, and then you just want to go ahead and flick. So to recap that, jump, point your car forwards, and sort of flick forwards like this, like you're just doing a normal sort of speed flip, for those of you that know how to do a speed flip. So let's just show you guys an example of me doing this flick. You get it on a car, and then you just want to go trying that sort of movement. Again, sometimes it does slip off your car, but just an example of trying to do this flick. You can get the mechanic down, get it on your car, get the dribble, and then try and bang. That's a perfect example of how to do the flick. Very consistent once you do get it down. You do tend to get a lot of power behind these flicks, and it is quite a basic one, which those of you guys at a lower rank can also learn, as well as us at a higher rank. I find to perform this mechanic best, you don't want to be going too fast. You don't want to let the ball escape from your car. You want to sort of have it under control like this, and then go for the perfect flick like that. Again, obviously we didn't get too much height, but you guys get the idea. Just using your air roll button and trying to divert the car, so when you do flick it like you would do for a speed flip, you get that height on the ball exactly like that. And as you guys can see, it does end up being a really nice flick goal. But again, flick number 2 that I do use in my GC rank lobbies is going to be the diagonal flick, shown there. So now we move on to flick number 3, and yet again we are going to have to increase the difficulty of the flicks, as now we are doing the Musty Flick flick. So this is quite a simple, well, flick in terms of a bit more mechanical. All you want to do, there's 2 different ways which you can do it. Me personally, I do this type of musty, but you can also do this type of musty. So how do you do both of them? Well, to do the first basic musty flick that I showed you guys, all you want to do is literally just jump, point your joystick forwards, and then point your joystick back again and just flip through. So once your car gets to about this position, you just want to pull your joystick back and flip forwards, and that will like do a back flip. And with the ball on top of your car, obviously this isn't the one that I really know how to do, but I know the mechanic. With the ball on top of your car, if you time it right, you can flick it up just like that there, and you can obviously flick it up over the opponent. Now the one that I tend to use is going to be a back flip musty. So what you want to do is jump, pull your joystick back, and then when you get to about this sort of position in the air, when you're sat around here, you want to flip back through the ball, and that gives you that flip. So wait till you get to that position and then flip back through the ball. For this, you just want to make sure the ball is somewhat near your car. Again, if you keep it up, you can get really, really good musty flicks like that. I personally have nailed this mechanic because I find it really, really useful. I'll show you guys some examples of me scoring all these flicks in the video, by the way. But that's a really, really nice example there of how you can just score a musty flick. Again, just making sure you've got it somewhat on the front bit of your car. When you pop it up, what that's going to do is actually, I messed that one up, but it's actually going to pop your ball forwards, and then you can just able to come back and scoop it through with the musty flick there, and it gives you a really, really nice pop over the defender. This is one I use a lot in ranked, and it's one that doesn't even require that much boost as well. You don't even have to be going that particularly fast. You can just pop it up and then go for a nice little musty flick. But yeah, the musty flick, really one I would recommend. So now, flick number 4 of 6, which I do use in my rank. This is probably the hardest flick to perform in today's video, and it's actually going to be the Breezy Flick mechanic. Now, it's pretty difficult to do how to do the Breezy Flick in just a short little 1-minute little clip, but I can do a Breezy Flick tutorial on my channel if those of you are interested. But in short, this is what the Breezy Flick mechanic looks like, and it's sort of a... how do I say this? An advanced musty. What you want to do is jump, then air roll your car, spin your car around and flip. It's very, very difficult to explain, but it is a mechanic which I do use a lot. It's not one that you guys do have to definitely learn to help you rank up. Like, it's not something that is going to, if you learn it, automatically mean you're going to rank up. But as you guys can see, that's an incredible Breezy Flick. You can get some really, really nice, especially fast, powerful flicks, and it's quite unpredictable, so it's pretty hard to save. Again, you do sort of that final musty flick action, but you're jumping, air rolling your car the other way, turning your car all the way around using your joystick, and then flicking all the way through. So this is just the basic musty flick, and then this is the difference between the musty and the breezy. Air rolling, breezy through that, and as you guys can see, you get that really, really nice pop. A lot of the time, once you master this mechanic, it does end up going top bends, which is pretty unsavable for your opponents, especially as when you go around like this, they're not really sure what you're doing, and then when you get that nice little pop at last second, obviously because you withheld your jump, like this, you get that really nice little pop there. They don't really expect it, and it's one that works really, really well. But that's going to be the Breezy Flick mechanic. Now moving on to flick number 5 of today's video, what it is going to be is it's called the Classy Flick. Now this obviously is popularized by the guy Sir Classy, but I really like this flick. I think it's a really sort of cool flick the way you have to do it. That's an example of it there, not that powerful. But how do you do the Classy Flick, and why is this effective in ranked? I find this most effective definitely in ones. What you want to do is sort of air roll, reverse your car, and backflip. Now, how do I explain this in simple terms? You want to jump, air roll your car so you can see like the backwards side of it, like this, and then you want to go for it ahead and backflip. This is all without the ball first to practice this. So you do it to the point where you can see like the engine side of your car, and then backflip. So if we go ahead and do that with the ball on top of our car, what we want to do is jump, turn it so you can see the back, and then flick back through. And as you guys can see, you get a lot of power when you go and use that backflip back onto the ball, and that diverts it into the goal. Now, you can get really, really powerful examples of these. Again, I'll show you guys a really good example if I do get one. But again, you can just use this to flick it, and it's quite unpredictable because when you turn your car around, your opponent's not really sure what you're doing. Again, you just use your backflip to sort of pop it up. You can get really, really powerful and really, really good ones. I'll see if I can get one right now. That was not the best attempt. But again, turning your car around and just backflipping through it. It's very, very difficult to save because it's quite an unpredictable shot in the location which you do go. And it's a shot which I recommend really a lot if you can pull this off consistently in ranked. Like, say, for example, you've only got 30 boost. It's quite hard to save this, especially if you know how to do it correctly and consistently. Obviously, I've just come on, so I'm not that warmed up on my mechanic. This mechanic is very, very good to use GC, and it is one that I use very, very regularly. But again, I'll just show you guys an example of me actually trying to hit it now. So you just jump, reverse your car, and then flick back through like that. And that's a perfect example of the sort of pop which you can get. Very, very difficult to save and very, very good. This is going to be the Classy Flick. And now finally, flick number 6, which I do go ahead and use in rank. Now this is going to be quite a basic flick. Again, it's similar to the front flick, but it's just going to be the backwards flick, like so. So you just want to get the ball on your car and then backwards flick it up. Now I struggle with being consistent at these just for some weird reason, but it's a really, really good thing to sort of pop it up onto the backboard ready for a shot just like that. So let's say you're playing twos, especially I'd say where this flick is the most useful. So you just need to pass it to your teammate. Well, you can just flick it up onto the backboard. Teammate can come in, and hopefully if they're not a bot like me, they're able to slot this. But let's say you're in a one-on-one, you know teammate's behind you in support. Again, backflip up to the backboard, then teammate can just come up and slot the open net just like that. And that's exactly an example of how you can outplay. This does actually work in ones as well. If you get the ball really, really far on towards the back of your car, can actually flick it directly up, and that could like flick it over a challenging opponent, for example. Say my opponent is challenging and I just want to flick it over him, like so, and then you just go ahead and either score from it or just keep control of the ball. Now, with the back flick, the further back you flick it on your car, the more it's going to stay close to you. So, like, if you flick it really, really far back, it's going to stay really close to you, and it can give you a sort of setup for stuff just like that. Or if you have it more on the front of your car and you go for a flick, you're more likely that the ball is going to go forwards a little bit more, maybe to backboard. So again, if you're passing to a teammate, you want to have the ball more on the front of your car, like so. I'm just messing up this mechanic now. But if you want to pass it to a teammate, have the ball on the front of your car, and then you guys can perform the flick. If you want to keep it yourself, have the ball more towards the back of your car, and then you can just sort of flick it up and then follow it on, obviously, if you've beaten the opponent. But yeah, that's going to be 6 out of 6 flicks, which I do use in my Grand Champion lobby. So let's show you guys some examples of me hitting all of these different flicks.